One of the things I love about London, of course, are these incredible shops that you can only find here. Of course, the Piccadilly Arcade is no stranger to quality, craftsmanship, and tradition. We've covered so much in here, but today we have an opportunity to walk into a shop that I've been passing by for years, admiring their windows, but have never had an opportunity to actually step inside and learn about what it is they do. And that is the Armoury of St James, which is a collector of vintage and antique pieces from British Navy, military, and royal history. So join me as we step inside and learn about the incredible items that the Armoury of St James's offers here in the Piccadilly Arcade. Toby.
Hello.
Well, it's so great to be here inside the Armoury of St James's, and you have to say I've been, walking by here, for years, admiring your windows, and I'm very excited to actually have an opportunity to have you really talk about everything it is you're doing.
Well, it's a great pleasure to welcome you here today.
Well, this is, absolutely incredible, and it looks like, really that every single object in here probably has its own story.
It does indeed. We are very picky, so we have to find the things that excite our interest, and that's within the topics of naval, military, and royal history.
Yeah.
So anything from the 16th century really to the present day.
Really?
So you may find in here a bronze of King Emperor Edward VII, or a signed presentation photo of Queen Elizabeth II. It's all as likely as anything else.
Wow. And it's all, of course, iconic and is quintessentially, British as it comes. These are the small little artifacts that I think, as I think of just, British history that are kind of all touch points there.
Well, absolutely. We all spend our sort of childhood growing up watching various our sort of classic films which really touch upon the history within these four walls.
Yeah.
Whether it's, the toy soldier displays you see before you, or whether a marching drum that's been turned into a coffee table.
Yeah.
They're all part of the rich history of Britain and Europe and America as well.
Well, talk me through that a little bit, because there's a lot of toy soldiers here, and I was actually introduced to the shop by a good friend of mine who collects these soldiers.
Yes.
Right? And there's, a lot of them here. And it's not something I've ever really kind of known about. I guess these were the original kind of toy soldiers of kind of a bygone era. But
absolutely.
they have a rich history.
Yes, Churchill famously discussed his collection of toy soldiers at Blenheim Palace when he was a boy, but the tradition goes back to the 17th century in Europe with flats, which are single dimensional items. But the traditions you see before you, the layout of displays, are all made today. They are generally formed into two types. You've got the matte figures and the glossy figures, two very different price points, but all very much available to purchase. Yeah. Generally speaking, they're made for display purposes. Some people do war game with them, which is generally something which is done on a smaller scale, but there is exceptions. Yeah. But there is something within all of us that can't help but enjoy a miniature display of anything, whether it's sort of trains or a battlefield representing the Battle of Waterloo.
Absolutely. And are there, so there's new ones, but you have vintage ones as well?
We don't. We specialize in the newly produced military toy soldiers. They are ranging in price from £25 up to about £150 for a single figure, with every price in between. And they fill the spaces of which the antiques and period items that we sell you also see around you.
Yeah. Well, Eddie Sahakian, who's, I guess, kind of a neighbor of yours.
Indeed, neighbor and friend, absolutely.
We had a kind of a tour of, walk down Jermyn Street. He was talking about how, for his oldest son, Elvis, he would come in and, buy one of these toy soldiers.
He's got quite a burgeoning collection of fine figures, absolutely. Yeah. That's the advantage. It's for children of all ages, I think it's fair to say. And whether you buy a single figure of Winston Churchill, which is our most popular seller, or whether you're interested in buying a whole display at once, both are as likely and as possible.
Yeah, but there's also a lot of very clear, vintage, collectible pieces here.
Absolutely.
And so, I'm looking at these kind of cufflinks right here of of kind of, two dogs. I mean, everything has a story. So, I mean, maybe kind of talk me through kind of some of the interesting pieces, because
Absolutely.
I mean, I would imagine that, a place like the Armoury of St James is a place that you can't ever really come in looking for something specific. You kind of come and browse, and
there is an element
you
of
get
that.
surprised.
Yes, it's very true. I mean, royal presentation items are a big part of what we do, and the dogs in question are two of Queen Victoria's favourite dogs.
Really?
Which is, she was a big fan of early photography, so she would create pieces of jewellery using elements of photography mixed with precious metals.
Okay.
But also a big part of what we do are the paintings and prints, whether it's a second lifeguards officer who served with distinction during the First World War, painted for his parents by a Parisian-trained artist.
Really? Okay.
Or mess presentation silver, like the mountain howitzer you see there, which is made to come apart as a mountain howitzer would have been for use in the mountains.
Okay.
And then we have naval artifacts from the Revolutionary period, a Revolutionary dirk over there, which is with a fine blued blade, really nice condition and such a tactile object.
Okay.
As well as royal presentation gifts. In this case, a pair of photograph frames given by George V to one of the French military attachés to the court of St James.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely. But everybody loves a regimental drum, and because the officers themselves, generally speaking, in the 19th century, paid for them out of their own pocket.
Really? Okay.
When they left the regiment, they would be presented
them with
one.
them. Yeah.
Usually to turn into something useful,
Yeah.
a coffee table, but we've had them as waste paper bins, wine coolers,
Really?
things like that. But hand painted and with rope tensions, of course, they're not made in the same way anymore. So whether it's from the sort of late 19th century or early 20th century, they make a useful side table for anywhere. Really.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so with the upcoming coronation of King Charles, I mean, are you guys assembling anything special
Well,
for that,
it's interesting you say that. Yes, we send out a bulletin every 8 to 12 weeks of around 100 items. We pick maybe 8 or 9 for which we just pick out to highlight to our clients. But obviously with an important year we have coming up, there are a little collection that we have been holding back, as you might say, ready for the important day. And perhaps you'd like to come downstairs and have a closer look.
Yeah, that'd be delightful.
Excellent. Come on down.
Thank you. Wow, I mean, more curious and incredible objects down here.
Absolutely.
So what is, don't even know what I'm looking at.
Well, I think it's,
It looks fantastic, it looks incredible, but...
I think it's a good place to start would be, who doesn't like a pair of cufflinks?
Yeah.
And these cufflinks were presented by Prince Phillip.
Really?
They bear his personal cipher.
Okay.
They were made in solid gold in 1961 by the Royal Court Jewellers, Henry Hodgson Plant, and they would have been given to a courtier as a royal gift.
Really?
And they cufflinks are royal presentation items are a big part of what we do here. Whether it's cufflinks, you also see a selection of royal presentation stick pins, which are obviously worn with either worn in a tie for an official occasion, or obviously in a modern sense they could be worn with lapels. Yeah. They are always diamond set, generally speaking, in high grade gold, usually with a bespoke fitted case, which we try and acquire original ones as much as possible. This one here is with the G for Prince George, later George V.
Wow.
And this is from the time when he was Prince of Wales. And you'll see diamond set Prince of Wales feathers there as well.
And so this would have been given by the then Prince George to
absolutely, yes.
people in the court. Or,
indeed, absolutely, a worthy recipient.
Diplomats.
It's a higher level than you might expect.
Really?
And it goes to the highest level, which is a gold presentation cigarette box. Solid gold, diamond set.
Wow.
And eminently usable with some original cigarettes still inside.
And does this tradition continue to this day? I mean, would the current, King Charles or the former Prince of Wales, still be giving similar gifts out?
There's I think what the phrase would be perhaps a little more
tighter
pockets. Measured. Indeed, yes, a little more measured now. But yes, it's fair that I think gold and diamond set presentation boxes are few on the ground.
Yeah, and this was given by who? Victoria?
Edward VII.
Edward VII. Wow.
Edward VII was really a great bon vivant. He loved shooting weekends. He famously had a weighing stool in the hallway of his stately home, so he could weigh his guests to make sure they were heavier when they left than when
According
they
to the
arrived.
Crown, they still use it for Christmas.
Apparently so, of course, absolutely. And whether that's also, there's one here presented by the King of Spain as well, which was during a shooting weekend.
Which king?
King Alphonso XIII.
Wow.
And that's again also diamond set. Alas, no original cigarettes inside this time, but with a nice little cabochon, all spring-loaded and fully engraved as well.
Presented to W. James by King Alphonso VIII, November 1907.
Indeed, the great sort of great period of Edwardian splendor.
Yeah, I could have some business cards printed,
Well,
you know, in a slightly different dimension. And,
Yes, well, the filter tips on modern cigarettes do cause a few problems for usage. But
and what about, what about these?
so these are fob seals, which in the Georgian sense of the word would be attached to either an ornate gold cloth or a piece of material and worn in the small pocket of the trouser, and you'd attach your watch to the other end. So you'd have your watch attached to the small pocket, and then you pull it out, and this would be the end piece.
So this would be kind of almost a counterweight to keep it
exactly
kind of anchored in the pocket.
Exactly, and all three of these relate to Admiral Nelson. Two have a seal matrix engraved with his profile, and one bears his famous and final signal, "England expects, every man will do his duty," with some fouled anchors there.
Wow.
And these would have been available to purchase commemoratively after the Battle of Trafalgar,
Yeah, wow. Interesting.
in gold and in gilt metal.
That's fascinating.
But I see your eyes drawn to the bulldog.
Yes.
Who doesn't like a British bulldog? These originally were made in 1915 by Roald Dalton. They were then reissued during the Second World War.
Okay.
This example is quite unusual because it was made in 1953 during the Coronation. But they have a new lease of life because, as you may remember, they do feature in one of the more recent James Bond films, quite an integral part. So that has given them a new lease of life in recent years.
Yeah.
But we can't talk about bulldogs without moving to
The bulldog
Churchill.
of his own.
Absolutely.
Right.
And that's a 1942-43 electroplate, which is basically a process of adhering copper to plaster. Of course, during the war, they had much more important things to do than using bronze foundries to make sculpture.
Yeah.
But of course, what's most interesting is that he's wearing his siren suit, made just over the road at Turnbull and Asser.
Yeah. That's fascinating. What about this?
A perfect link to Winston Churchill.
Okay.
This is a officer's baton used at the funeral of Winston Churchill, and this would have been essentially carried by the individuals who were in charge of that occasion. So if you were involved as a young officer or as even a sort of member of any form of staff, if somebody had one of these, you'd have to
you paid attention.
follow orders. Absolutely, they were used in the recent royal funeral as well. Absolutely, royal photos are another part of what we do. You'll see one of
See this?
Prince Charles from 1996, and one of an unusually image to find the Queen and Prince Phillip smiling. Quite bizarre in one respect, I must say.
She's got a beautiful smile. He's, it's almost a smile here.
Oh, I think that's as far as it gets.
And so this was 1983, and this would have been, again, at Buckingham Palace.
Yes, that's the Long Gallery, I believe.
And then would this have been given as a gift?
Yes, indeed. They were given, some similar ones were given, we know, on the Royal Yacht, but again, given to various courtiers and worthy recipients. Ambassadors were presented with them in various grades and styles as well.
That's an exceptional photograph.
But the important thing about those are the original frames, because they were given in frames.
In frames.
And the frames are often the things that are, they get damaged because they are, people like to put them on display.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I know you're a fan of the Duke of Wellington.
Yes, of course.
And we don't have often things related to the Duke of Wellington because, alas, he lived a very long time. So we all remember the Duke of Wellington as the victor of Waterloo, the great military leader. But alas, to the Victorian age, he was the elder statesman.
Yeah.
So most of the things you see out there of the Duke of Wellington are him as he was to them, which was not the victor of Waterloo.
Yeah.
So finding bronzes are rare things.
Yeah, he was an unpopular prime minister.
Yes, I think that's fair to say. I believe the Iron Duke tag didn't have anything to do with his iron temperament. It was because he had to put iron railings on his house to stop people throwing bricks through his windows. But the nice thing about that one is he's wearing his Waterloo medal as a little nod, although statesman dressed, a nod to his past and glory produced in 1853.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah.
But
what about this letter A?
well,
I mean, this
for
is
the man
really-
who has everything, who would not like to have an invitation to dinner with Napoleon Bonaparte?
Oh, is that right? Really?
Yes.
This is-
When he was first consul, premier
yeah.
consul, of course. After he left Egypt rather quickly, this dates to one of the early years of his revolutionary reign as premier consul.
Wow. And so this would be an invitation to dinner, and where would the location been? In Paris? Or?
Indeed, absolutely, yes.
Yeah,
You see
Paris.
The date here as
Yeah,
well.
the
with
8th of...
the revolutionary calendar.
Yeah.
Again, a rather complicated system which was abolished rather quickly, as quickly as it was instituted.
They're reinventing the calendar.
Well, indeed. They had grand ideas, and who could blame them?
Yeah.
But I think it's fair to point out these. That's a fantastic piece of solid white and yellow gold with diamond set, Prince of Wales feathers. Again, a royal presentation brooch, traditionally worn by a lady, but obviously we do sell them to gentlemen now as well. It would, but not my place to judge. Again, a similar one for
That's
Queen
exquisite,
Elizabeth II here as well. A very fine one, although not diamond set, next to it, which is Cartier made for George, Duke of Kent, and his wife Marina.
This one right here.
Indeed, Cartier
Yeah.
made in 18-karat gold.
It's very Art Deco.
Absolutely. They were very stylish individuals, and absolutely.
Wow, look at that. Wow, this is absolutely exceptional. Wow. And then, of course, we've got this beautiful painting kind of looming over us.
Absolutely. General Hutchinson,
Okay.
commander of the army in Egypt, which was forcing the French to withdraw. After the Battle of the Pyramids with General Abercrombie, he took over, and the original of this painting is in the Royal Collection, and this painting was copied in the 1840s for his family,
Really?
and
Okay.
remained in his home until very recently.
Yeah, very recently. Okay. Yeah. Amazing. Wow, Toby, this is incredible. So if someone, was interested in kind of learning more, I mean, of course, visiting you right here in the Piccadilly Arcade, I mean, what better location? It's, some of my favorite shops are right here.
Well, our door is always open. There's no appointment needed. We are always extremely welcoming. All of the pieces you will see are on our website.
Okay.
And it is, we're always happy to try and find something exciting and welcome you at any point.
Yeah, and you've got this bulletin that goes out. So this is...
Yes, we have. Yeah, absolutely.
There's a collector's,
This is a very sneak peek you've had here. This isn't offered to many. So we're happy we could show you some things.
Wow. Well, Toby, it's been, such a pleasure. Thank you for taking the time to walk me through these incredible artifacts.
It's our pleasure.
I mean, again, we could, literally probably speak through every single item in here, and
Well,
I'm sure
that's
you
what we're here
would
for.
have a story for every single piece, from memory off the top of your head. But it's this level of just specialization, that I love so much in London. The things that you can really find only here, and this is an incredible example of, what in many cases are literally singular pieces. Yeah. Toby.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.
An absolute pleasure.
Yeah.